Hi again then guys, and welcome to another money earning setup, specifically a very easy and fast way to earn cash in GT Sport. Now if you're not familiar with how to earn huge money, just look on the channel. You can even click through at the end of this video to check out some of my tunes that tell you about that. It's basically the Blue Moon Bay event. Most people know about it by now. I'll put a link in the description though so you can check it out anyway. But with this particular tune, because it's N400, it's a little bit easier for beginners. With N300, you have to have a bit more finesse, really tune the car and hone it in. With N400, you can kind of be a bit carefree with it because the cars are so much quicker, the extra 100 horsepower or so makes a huge difference, and the kind of cars that you can use tend to be faster anyway. So in terms of this one, this is in effect going to, I think, replace my existing N400 Porsche tune in terms of how good it is, primarily because of how attainable this car is. It's super easy to win the event in because you can run consistent low 46-second laps, but it's super easy to drive, and the car itself is that much easier to attain because it's 160,000 credits instead of 250,000 for the newer 911 which we were using before. So that's a whole lot cheaper. Around 90 grand is a big difference for someone who doesn't have a huge amount of cash. So what I'd recommend doing if you're earlier on in the game is to try and use this car to earn cash with, because it's very easy to do it with. Now if you do Blue Moon Bay in a clean way, so don't scrape the wall, don't bash into other cars, you'll get 345 grand every time. So you can do that like 5 times an hour essentially. That's big money. It's plenty of money for a beginner especially. Now as far as optimizing the car, in a similar way to the circuit setup from yesterday, you want to drop the weight as much as you can. Once again, optimize it for N400 to the peak of N400. Then as far as traction control, you might want it on if you're less experienced, but you don't really need it once you get used to the car. As far as tyres, you want racing super softs on the front and the back. Some people like to change the front, like mediums or hards. You could do that if you want to, it's not really necessary on this car. As far as the suspension, we've got the ride height on 100mm on the front, 135 on the back, and incidentally, this is kind of a remix of my other tune for the newer 911 as well. You could lower the back a little bit more if you wanted to, say down to 130 for instance. And then as far as the frequency, as I said, I've got that on 2.3, then as far as anti-roll on 7, for the compression on the dampers 57 with 86 on the rebound, neutral camber, neutral toe. You can't adjust the downforce on the back end. As far as the diff, again in a similar way to the circuit setup actually, I've got the highest initial torque, the lowest acceleration and the lowest braking. That works really well for me personally, but of course you'll have to test it for yourself and then change it if you feel necessary. And as far as the gearbox, it's super simple. I've left it stock. I haven't done a thing to the gearbox because it's already more than fast enough. This can easily overtake the 911 that's actually in the race itself, so that gives you a good idea of how easy it is to use. So, of course, what you want to see is how quick the car can be in action and to prove how much cash you can earn. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, you can pretty easily run the 46-second lap region on this one, even the low 46s. You could probably break into 45s if you use manual gearbox, for instance, if you're an even better driver than I am, if you hone in your skill a bit more, but you can easily run consistent 46s. A beginner could probably quite easily run 47s to start with, maybe 48s, and that's more than good enough to win the event. Overall, I would say this is a great place to start for people who don't have as much cash. At the end of the day, to do the race at all, you have to have a car that's over 100 grand. So if you've got to have 6 figures anyway, you might as well get something like this, which you can get consistent, easy victories with. Now the other Porsche, you can get into an even lower category of N300 and potentially earn even more, but I need to hone in my tune for that one. It's a bit more skittish and more temperamental than this one. This one though, super easy to use, very forgiving and very, very quick. In terms of actually how to drive it, you'll get a feel for it pretty quickly. You can pretty much find your feet with it yourself. It's very forgiving, as I said, but brake just before you go into the turn. Try to ease onto the brake, ease onto the throttle, but as I said, it doesn't take very long at all to get your bearings with the car. It's only 160 grand to begin with, so you're pretty much ready to go. You can enter the event easily, even without actually upgrading the weight. That just makes it even easier later on. So if you do decide to use this tune, you can easily earn in excess of 1.7 million an hour. In fact, it's just over that if you can keep the event clean each time. And to be honest, even if you don't make it clean every time, you'll still be looking at, I think it's like 250 grand a time anyway. So for a beginner, plenty of cash. That literally means that this car pays for itself after one 10-minute race, or technically 11-minute race. So overall, brilliant car to use, especially for less experienced drivers. Get yourself one of these, get yourself on the track, earn that cash, and before you know it, you'll have much more expensive cars and potentially even be running stuff in N300 that's even quicker and earning even more. So that's it for this build. Of course, if you want to check out all of my other tunes, various other money earning tunes as well, click through here on screen. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.